Hello, everybody. I'm Damien Cross at DC_F1 on Twitter, and welcome to ZoomZoomers. I'm just now going to let everybody in. Obviously, there's a few people in the waiting room. Apologies if there's any bad language. I'm hoping that there won't be, but you know, it is live on YouTube now, so I'm just going to admit these guys now. People will be joining throughout the Zoom, throughout the evening as well. And we see some familiar faces in front of us now. I can see Craig, I can see Richard has just turned up, Mark, and more people. How are you all doing? You all right?
Hey. Yep.
Excellent, good times.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Yeah, we've had a few kind of unable to make it tonight, but I know people are going to be joining as we go along. So I'll keep an eye out for people joining there. And Near, for the first time, you're here for the whole thing, so it's good that we've got a chance to start from the beginning as well. And also notice that Neil's in a car, which is going to be very interesting. So you're doing a Richard Gooding and doing a live test. Well, I suppose you've done the Defender as well, haven't you?
I'm doing a less impressive Richard Gooding, yes.
A less impressive Richard Gooding, I like that, yeah. Craig, you're here as well, and Lewis, good to see you back as well. So I'll just go through who's in front of me now while a few more people are joining. Craig, if you could give me your name and your Twitter handle, please.
Yeah, I'm Craig Woollard. I'm at Craig_Woollard, and today I do not have a pint.
Oh, my word. Have you got a hot drink?
Yeah, I've got a cup of tea instead.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Richard.
So I'm Rich Gooding. I'm a freelance motoring writer and graphic designer, and my Twitter handle is @RichardGooding.com. And I have no pint either. I've got water.
Wow, I'm having some problems with my green screen behind me, so apologies for that. I think a load of sunlight has just crept in and just ruined the illusion that I'm not in some massive cauldron thing with graphics behind me. Mark Turner.
Yeah, I'm at Blacktop Media UK, and automotive journalist.
Fantastic, thank you. Neil Briscoe.
Hi, I'm Neil Briscoe. You'll find me at Neil M. Briscoe on Twitter, and I'm a freelance motoring writer, mostly for the Irish Times and CompleteCar.ie.
Thank you. Lewis.
I'm Lewis Kingston, freelance motoring journalist, and you can find me on Twitter at These Old Cars.
Excellent. LA.
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
I'm LA, and I'm at @1_LA, so it's not too tricky for me to remember.
and Near, if you've got to take your name and your Twitter handle as well, please.
Near Kahn, Near_Kahn, spelled like that.
Yeah. Good to see you all. Good to see you. And okay, Neil, last time we had you on, we were talking a lot about Lego and things like that. So that kind of distracted us all somewhat. But we'll talk a bit more about design in a bit. But also, we'll give you a chance to do a track day own scrap. So I think you've seen a few of these, and you haven't had a chance to do that yet. But we'll just wait for a few more people to come in. While we're doing that, then Neil, let's just fill us in on what car you've got there, because it isn't the same one as last time. It's not the Defender, is it?
Oh, it's very definitely not the Defender. It's the Ford Cougar PHEV.
I think we've lost the audio, Neil.
Sorry, what's that again?
I can hear him.
Yeah, same. Ford Cougar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's just me that can't hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Definitely hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to have to hope that the movements of your mouth is enough for me to figure out what's going on. Cheers, Neil. You guys carry on. I'll try and figure out what's going on here.
I'm in the Ford Cougar PHEV plug-in hybrid. I've been driving it around all day. It's very nice, but a bit heavy.
It's good car though.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to lift it up, Neil.
Hmm?
You're not supposed to lift it up.
Look, when I've always been a fan of the Incredible Hulk. It's a test I do on every car. Yeah.
How is it driving?
It's
Apart from
good.
heavy.
It's mostly good, but you do, when you get it into the corners, you really feel the extra weight of the batteries. There's a lot of inertia in this thing when it gets moving, so you've got to kind of reassess your cornering style ever so slightly. Otherwise, you'll find yourself understeering off into a ditch, possibly. That's allegedly.
Good. Well, it's good to know that I can hear you guys again now. So I'm not sure what happened there. Sorry about that. But we've got a few more people here. So if we could start with Taka, if you could let us know your name and your Twitter handle as well, please.
That's my alter ego on a Monday night, borrowed from my wife. Ian Cook from Pop and Colour, or Taka on a Monday evening.
Lovely. Thank you, Ian Cook from Pop and Colour or Taka. And Ben.
Hi, I'm Ben Hodges, and I'm deputy editor of Car Bar. My Twitter is something.
If people are that keen to follow you, they'll find you. Don't worry. Yeah. If you type in Ben Hodges, you'll find you.
You can rename yourself on here.
Can you? How do you do that?
You just click on your little 3 dots in the top corner of the screen. I've done mine.
Oh, I'm on mobile. Typical.
Sorry.
I haven't got 3 dots.
We just had a message come up on the YouTube from Craig, another Craig. We may have 2 Craigs on the call. It says, "Don't forget me." So I'll just make sure that he's got the link to get in. So again, if you wouldn't mind just talking about yourselves, maybe Ian, you can let us know what you've been up to this week.
Look, I've now popped the band colour. How about that?
And Neil's changed his to Batman.
Popped the band colour. What I've been doing, so I've just come back from the studio. I'm doing a project potentially next week, which I can't talk about quite yet because it hasn't quite been confirmed. So, ooh, mysterious. So yeah, doing that. I've got t-shirts. Look, I've got t-shirts. Ta-da!
Also,
Superb.
So t-shirts are the first orders have gone through, which is great. What else have I done? Oh, and I've delivered some artwork somewhere else, which I can't talk about because that's not been released yet either. So yeah, it's all stuff there's kind of happening in the background, which I can't really talk about at the moment. So, which is exciting, which is nice. So
yeah, exactly. And you're open. You know, the studio's open now for people to actually come and have a look if they behave themselves. Is that right?
I am behind the big perspex screen, and I can wear a mask, and people come in wearing masks. So yeah, the studio is open, and I'm getting back to painting. I've got some other things to get done this week, and some other client stuff to get on with. So yeah, good. It's been productive, which is nice.
Where are you, Ian? Whereabouts are you?
I'm in the wonderful city that is Coventry, home of the automotive industry. And what else? Oh, and City of Culture 2021 from August, not January. So, because COVID. So yes, it's nice and sunny right now. It's quite pretty outside. There we are. Look, it's a bit of sunshine just out there.
Yeah, the sun was strong enough to ruin my green screen. So that's it's a lot brighter than it has been. I mean, today I don't know what you guys have been. You know, obviously all dotted around the country. I think everyone here, Neil, you're probably not in our neck of the woods, but everyone else is kind of around here. But we've had some really patchy rain.
I'm a fair way away.
Yeah, where are you now near at the moment? You're in Israel.
Yes, northern Israel. It's 30 degrees here,
so plenty of stuff. Is it dark there?
What's the time there at the moment?
10 o'clock, 2 hours ahead. Not terrible. Sorry.
That must be the furthest that anyone's logged in from so far. So if anyone can beat that, we need to have a record at some point.
Give me a few weeks, and yeah, I will.
Okay. we did
worried a few minutes ago because we had a really heavy rainstorm here, and there was a little bit of lightning in it, and I'm in a plug-in hybrid that's currently attached to a charger.
That's an interesting thing, isn't it? We'd like to see what happens, and you could be the guinea pig for that experiment for us, Batman. But I guess later on we'll probably we will have the quiz that Ray's produced, but I've got it with me now, so I presume you won't be able to share it from where you are.
No, I should be able to. I think a reasonably good connection, so fingers crossed.
Okay, I'll be plan B. We're just waiting for
Neil has changed his name.
Where are we looking now?
Neil's changed his name.
Batman.
Who wants to be Robin? Yeah, we've had while we're waiting again for another guest, Craig, to join, because I think he's on his way. I can see him coming in. But I gave you guys I gave you all a task to think about, a bit of a design task, I guess. LA's pretending she hasn't heard this now.
I messaged you before and asked you what we have to do tonight because I forgot.
Same here, I've forgotten.
You've forgotten. It doesn't matter. We'll come on to that in just a moment then, because the guest, I'm really pleased to say that the guest has managed to get on. So if you could let us know, other Craig, because we've already got one Craig, we've got a bonus Craig tonight. Craig, if you could let us know your name and your Twitter handle for us.
Sure, my name's Craig Musker and my Twitter handle is _Craig on cards.
Fantastic. It's great to have you along because I know you often tune in and watch back and get involved and everything. So it's fantastic you've managed to join. Really sorry. I assumed I'd sent you the link, but that's just me being an absolute dingbat.
No
So
worries.
if you could just fill us in a little bit, because it's the first time we've seen you here on ZoomZoomers, and you created Sunnyside Meet, which is a kind of well, is it a classic car meeting? What kind of thing is it?
All vehicles are welcome. So it is a monthly gathering, and if you're a motoring enthusiast, you're more than welcome.
Cool, and it's got its own Twitter account as well, hasn't it? So that's separate.
Yeah.
If you look for Sunnyside, I think it comes up anyway.
Sunnyside breakfast meet, you'll find it.
Sunnyside breakfast meet. So how has it been with the lockdown?
We've gone virtual,
Okay.
as a lot of other organisations have. We've been to virtual meets and shows, and a charity day we've done as well.
Fantastic. And what charity was that for then?
It was all in aid of mental health awareness.
Oh, brilliant.
Back in May. Yeah.
Cool. Good to hear it. Did I advise you what the theme of the week was going to be, or have I just completely?
You did. No, you did.
Okay, let's throw you in at the deep end then, because I thought maybe we could, because I think you perhaps had a couple that you were debating about actually, and that I think about it. But yeah, let's start with you. Let's have a think about what your best part or best design feature of a car that was otherwise unremarkable. I'm not precisely sure how we worded it, but basically something where the car was kind of forgettable, but there was a nice design element. What did you have in mind for that?
Well, I've gone a bit left field actually. A Volvo 244 from the 70s.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's boxed. It's unremarkable. A boring car. But actually, the front profile, you've got the straight lines of the box, but you've got the circular headlamps. It had wing mirrors on the front wings, and actually the steering wheel is just so simple and utilitarian. It's actually quite beautiful in many ways.
Yeah, so a lot of different elements of that one car, which otherwise is often dismissed as being quite a flat, boring design, but of course they never are. If you went to try and design a car yourself, you'd suddenly find that there's no such thing as a simple car. So a lot of different elements on a Volvo 244. Nia, we've got to come to you and ask you this question as well, because you know, as the guy that we probably all turn to for your expert opinion, have you got any ideas of a normal car that actually had a bit of a design flair?
I'm going to go for an entire car, if that's okay.
Yeah.
It's just an example of one of those cars that, when it was out, to a certain extent, to a large extent, kind of passed people by a little bit. And then a few years later, you look back at it, it's like, you know what? That was a really good looking car. And the only reason that nobody took much notice of it at the time, because there wasn't a particularly good version of it. It was a car that there was no, especially, it was quite a sporty looking car, but there was no sport version of it. There was no particularly fast version of it. There was no particularly fancy version of it. And it's the second Mazda 323F. So there was the first 323F that had the pop-up headlights.
Yeah.
Which are obviously fundamentally cool because pop-up headlights are cool. But other than that, it wasn't actually a particularly good-looking car.
Yeah.
But then there was the second one, and I think there were a few reasons. First of all, because it didn't have pop-up headlights, it was like, oh, this is less cool than the previous one, and so it automatically got ignored. And as well, because it was the 5-door rather than the 3-door. There was a 3-door version that was kind of a bit bread vanny. And back then, it was always really obvious that the 3-door was the sporty version and the 5-door was the family hatchback. And so nobody really took any notice of the 5-door. People noticed the 3-door, which was also a bit and therefore ignored all of it. And I can't speak for myself here. It must have been about 2000 or 2001, and I'm just walking down the street and I saw this. You know which one I'm talking about here. This is the 5-door fastback, slightly squinty nose 323F, quite wedgy. It's got really interesting proportions. It's a very different, certainly for the time when mid 90s, where 5-door hatchbacks were just 5-door hatchbacks. And it's got really interesting proportions and quite a sporty shape, but it was never, as I say, it wasn't a particularly interesting or sporty car beyond that. No. That's the one. There you go. Up on the screen.
I was just.
And I remember probably around 2000, maybe even 2001, kind of walking past one on the street and just suddenly noticing it. And it's like, you know what? That's a really good looking car. How did that just how did I not ignore that in the mid-90s? I mean, mid-90s, I was studying car design. Like, I was supposed to be much more aware of these things. I only remember being vaguely aware of it, kind of looking all right kind of thing. And it was a couple of years later that I realized that I began to appreciate it a little bit more. And because it wasn't particularly successful, certainly when I was in Britain at the time, you almost never saw them in Britain. They weren't particularly successful anywhere, I don't think. And they kind of got cold feet and replaced it with a really, really ordinary 323. I think as it was only when the Mazda 3 came out that was better looking than the 323 that I suddenly looked back. There we go. That was that's what replaced it.
Yeah.
So they, having done something that was actually quite cool and good looking and interesting, they followed it up with something that wasn't, because it hadn't worked for them. Like nobody'd noticed.
Yeah.
But retroactively, I think that it deserves a bit more attention. It was never a star of Gran Turismo. It was never a star of Fast and the Furious. There was never the kind of the Type R. I say there was never a Type R version. I think technically there was in Japan, but it was never known for being a kind of a fast sporty car. Anyway, so the second 323.
Yeah. You mentioned Gran Turismo there. The first thing when you mentioned it, and I was trying to recall what that generation looked like, because I was a big Gran Turismo nut, and I think it was always listed as the Lantis or whatever the Japanese name for it was. And I think the back of it is quite cool because it's a bit kind of one unit kind of light cluster, and it looked really, really good. Yeah, fantastic. So Mazda, again, Mazda often crops up on this, and we like I say, with the name ZoomZoomers, we promise we're not sponsored by them, but they deserve more credit. I think it's clear because they often crop up in these kind of chats. Let's go to Richard Gooding then, because Richard's probably got a good idea of what might be a really cool design on a fairly normal car.
Well, I think your wording originally was NAF.
Okay, NAF then, yeah.
And I think it depends on what your description of NAF is. But I've gone for the circular door handles on a Fiat Strada straight.
Oh, yeah.
Not a NAF car. I'm not letting you have it as a NAF car.
I'll behave.
The whole car looks kind of, well, not weird, but it was, the round circles on the lights, the wheels. I think everyone remembers the Built by Robots advert, or certain members of us would, of a certain age, where it was soundtracked by an operatic score. I forget which one it was. But yeah, that's always, I don't think it's ugly. I think people think it's ugly, but I don't think it's ugly at all.
No.
And the fact that they were round is a bit different, I think.
Yeah, it's clearly stuck with you. I have to admit, I'd never even noticed that they were round. So when you said the round round door handles,
it's another example of a car. It's another example of a car that I think only retrospectively you realise that it was really quite a cool design. At the time, I remember thinking of it as being quite an awkward C3PO kind of car. And again, Fiat themselves got cold feet, and like they did with the Multipla, and facelifted it by taking all of the character out of it, even changing the door handles, which is really unusual for a facelift.
Yeah.
They took all of that character out of it in the facelift.
It's a shame. Fiat, the first stab at cars is usually the most interesting, and then they kind of get told to tone it down a bit, which is a huge shame. So Lewis, you didn't get a chance to look at this because you've been off last week, and I don't suppose you've had a chance to think about this, have you? I think you were saying that you hadn't seen the question.
No, but I shall dwell on it for a bit and come up with something interesting in due course.
Okay.
If not today, I'll bring it back for next week.
Okay, yeah, give us a prod before the end of it if you do think of one, but there's no pressure. We'll come back to you next week if not. And LA, again, you haven't had a chance to have a think about this either. So no, that's cool. We'll move on to Neil Briscoe then.
Well, like Neil, I've gone for an entire car, although I'm not a car designer, so I can't talk as knowledgeable. And also my reason was really, really naff. But anyway, it's Mark III Ford Cortina, which was such a mediocre car. I mean, Car Magazine rightfully ripped this machine a third coin to back in the day. It was hopeless. But for two reasons, I love it. One, my dad had one. He had a dark blue estate, as a work car, and I loved it because it was kind of big and manly, but also because it looks so much like the car that Frank Drebin drives in Police Squad. And as anyone who knows me knows, I'm obsessed with American police cars, Crown Vics, Dodge Monaco, all this kind of jazz. So it was, at the time, it was the closest I could get to Frank Drebin's car. So that's why I love it. I love the Coke bottle styling as well.
Yeah, yeah. We did on Influx. We did a video about it where we got Gareth Jones to talk about the Cortina because his dad had one, and you know, there's all these people going, "Oh yeah, my dad had one of them," and it got this conversation going as it often does about what your dad had. And I thought, oh, my dad had a Daihatsu Charade and then a Kia Pride. So I would have yearned for a Ford.
Charade was okay. Kia Pride,
wasn't.
not so much.
It really wasn't. Not this one. Him and his mate decided to put a sunroof in it, and I'm not sure how they managed to do that. It wasn't as bad as the time that they decided to make a Mini into a convertible without considering the fact that it hasn't really got a chassis. It's just like it's got a bit of a chassis at each end, and they tested it on a farmer's field, and it just kind of went nope. Yeah, exactly, Lewis. So that was quite fun. Yeah, my dad. I don't know how I've turned out as sane as I have. Anyway, so next one. Let's go over to Ben.
And I'm off mute. So mine is not entirely a NAF car, but I have to go with the front end of the Alpha 159 Brera.
Okay.
Which were obviously twins at the front with particularly that treble light cluster. And the way the kind of the bonnet meets at the grille, and then the whole thing kind of, it just, you know, the lines just move down towards the grille. But that triple light cluster I always thought was a really, really cool looking piece of design. And I think Chevrolet put it in one of the Corvettes, but they put it behind kind of a little glass window. But I've never really seen it in mass production cars, not in recent years. And I think it's one of the coolest design features. And the car is technically naff because it just broke down all the time. Well, mine did, and that was actually my car, and it broke down all the time, and it was incredibly difficult to work on.
It's just the thing about design touches like a triple light cluster, because one would have been enough. Two is kind of, that's quite quirky. But they go, let's shove another one in. It's like, yeah, to make that decision to go for number 3 and convince everyone around you that that's the right thing to do, it's got to work, and it does work well. How do you feel, Ben, about Alfa's, you know, Alfa struggle in the UK because of number plate placement, whereas, you know, the Italians don't care so much about that. I quite like the fact that having an offset number plate makes you a bit quirky, and I'm quite a fan of the offset number plate at the front. How do you feel? Do you prefer it pure without a number plate on it, or do you like having an offset number plate?
I'm kind of like, do you know what? If someone says you have to have a number plate, it's not really a great ask to put it on. I mean, I think they look really cool without a plate. But then you realise you have to go and live in one of the, you know, the American states that doesn't have a front number plate. I mean, that Land Rover.
Get out, Neil.
That's an abomination. That is.
I am here for the Discovery's offset number plate.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. I think on Alphas they look really cool. On any other German car, I think you're just trying too hard and it looks a bit naff.
Yeah.
So when people get an M3 or or especially an M4, and then they move the plate to the side and they make it a little diddy plate with the GL numbers, and I'm just like, no, that is probably illegal, and it should be illegal as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough. Cool. Thanks for that, buddy. Craig, have you had a chance to think about this one?
Yeah. I spent a while thinking, right, how can I relate this back to motorsport? That's what I know. And I spent ages thinking about like innovative F1 designs and sports car design and so forth. But all the cars that sort of like sprung into my head were like actually pretty good. So I was like, hang on. Does anyone know what this car is?
No.
Is that the Ferguson Special?
That is indeed the Ferguson Special. And what was weird about this car was it was a Formula 1 car that was 4-wheel drive.
Okay.
So that is the quirky bit of design there. It came around in the early 60s, which was a bit of a weird time for F1 car design because they were transitioning between front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. So they thought, well, why not try 4-wheel drive as well?
Yeah. Was it outlawed, Craig, or was it? Did it just not catch on, or what?
It just didn't catch on. Ultimately, only took it part in one championship Grand Prix. It was disqualified from that for a push start. But Sterling Moss did take it to victory in the Alton Park Gold Cup in 1961. Also won the British Hill Climb Championship in 1964.
Blimey.
Something like that. So yeah, it's not a not particularly striking car. It's not my favourite looking car from that particular period.
No.
But it's a quirky bit of design anyway, and it goes down in history as the not only the last front-engined F1 car to take part in, well, to win a Grand Prix, but the only four-wheel drive F1 car to do so as well.
Cool.
It was well ahead of its time, if you think about it. I mean, at the time,
Yeah.
four-wheel drive was absolutely back then just for off-road cars. This was years before Audi Quattro or anything like that, of the idea of four-wheel drive actually helping you on road or on tarmac.
There was actually one motorsports car that predated that with, pretty sure it was actually four-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive, which was the Spiker from 1903.
Really?
Yeah.
1903. Wow.
60 horsepower Spiker. Have a gander.
Wow.
There's a couple of good pictures of it around. I haven't read much more about it. I think actually one of the cars still remains. It's in a museum somewhere. But there you go.
Cool, we'll check that out. Thanks for that. A little bit of a tidbit, and I'm sure Craig's going to get on it and find some archive photos for us at some point of anything, basically. Let's go to Mark next. At the risk of moving away from cars, maybe going to two wheels. Are you going to stick with four or
Sorry.
two?
No, I'm going to go with two. Apologies.
That's right.
So this was 1997, and Bimota thought they were going to revolutionise two-stroke motorcycles. Problem with two-strokes is they're a bit smelly. The emissions are quite poor. But Bimota found the answer. It was direct fuel injection. Dead simple. All they needed to do was build the world's coolest, most sexy two-stroke motorcycle for the road, 500cc, just like a Moto G or a GP bike. This one, in fact, beautiful thing. Fit electronic fuel injection, and jobs are good. And they've revolutionised motorcycle design as we know it. Unfortunately, it's Bimota, and it was crap and didn't work. So after they sold a few, none of them worked. They all came back, crippled the company, and they fitted carbs to them in the end, and then just called it quits and never spoke again about it.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, good to pick that one out. Thanks for that. And I believe all I've got left now before we let a guest in is Ian. Have you had a chance to think about this one, Ian?
Yes. So I'm going to go for the Jeep Renegade.
Okay.
Which is, it is kind of a contemporary. What I liked about it, because I did quite a few like press car loans and whatnot. And after what, like you kind of go through your Volkswagen group and they're quite samey inside. What I really liked about the Jeep Renegade is that it had about 9 Easter eggs in the design, including what I really loved is on the windscreen. If you can see there, it had a Jeep crawling on the windscreen. So part of the detail around the windscreen was a like a Willys Jeep going on it, and a person kind of snowboarding on the back as well. And then you also had the tail lights are meant to be jerry cans.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So I kind of liked it. I mean, it was all right as a kind of a soft roader that would never actually go off road. But I quite liked it because the quirks were just in the designs. And then that also with FCA Group, you had the Panda as well. And I had a Panda. I think it was like the all-wheel drive version, and it had like Panda printed into the interior as well. And it had Panda like, reproduced, and I quite like things like that. Probably
same platform, aren't they? And I think the Jeep and the Panda.
Yeah, so I kind of I remember the Renegade because it had some little quirks in it which I quite liked.
Fantastic.
The Renegade surprised me a lot. I had a nice drive in the Renegade. Funny enough, the week before, and it was a rental cars all over the place. The week before, I'd had a 500L, which I really wanted to like and didn't. And I like Italian cars, and I expected to like the 500L and really didn't. It was trying too hard to be quirky and just was a bit naff. And then a week later, I had that Jeep, which I wasn't expecting to like, and had it on I picked it up at Geneva in deep fog and had to drive it to Lyon through the night through really, really thick fog. I mean, and it was a horrific journey. And over that journey, I actually really quite got to like the car. You know, sometimes you have those journeys where a car just kind of does something for you. It served you. It serves you well. And it wasn't trying too hard to be quirky. It had these nice little quirks, exactly like you say, but it didn't feel like it was trying too hard to be quirky. They were just there. Yeah, and I liked it quite a lot, actually.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, what a great mix of all kinds of different things, all different eras, and you know, going back to 1903 even. But we'll move on now. We're going to let the guests in for this week, and hopefully they'll connect fairly quickly. When they're in, we're going to do a bit of track day own scrap, which I know people do tend to like. So of the people in front of me here now, obviously Craig Musker hasn't had a go, Nia hasn't had a go. Anyone else hasn't done a track day own scrap yet? Just you two, isn't it? Okay, looks like we have guests. Hello, everybody. This is Tom and Rachel. If you could just let us know your names and your your Twitter handle, Tom. I'm not sure Rachel's still on. Are you still on Twitter, Rachel?
I lurk in the background.
Oh, okay, one of them. Right, okay.
But I've basically just migrated to Instagram. So yeah, I'm still the same username. So I'm Scotty Watsits.
Scotty Watsits, and I think we met through Twitter many years ago, and that's how I kind of know you. And Tom as well, if you have your name and your Twitter handle as well, please.
Yeah, mine's OCD about cars, because if you see any of my tweets, that kind of is self-explanatory, really.
Fantastic. And you have a website. What's that, Tom?
I do, yeah. I was surprised because I heard that you found it, and I created that to put on a CV effectively and to get things out of my brain, and I haven't really touched it since, to be honest.
No worries. So, but it kind of gives a bit of a highlight. Well, yeah, it's just your name. Yeah, and it gives you a highlight of what you do, because I don't know if you're still doing it actively, but kind of restoring classic cars and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've always just bought things, done them up, and either kept them or sold them. So
excellent, fantastic.
I always like to explain it to anyone who's not met Tom and is not into cars. I basically say he buys a car, he dismantles it down into its individual component pieces, removes all of the rust, paints it, and puts it back together again.
Yeah, and I can see Lewis is really happy about this, because that sounds like Lewis all over as well. There's a few tinkerers on here as well, so but I'm not sure if you guys have ever crossed paths or spoken to each other on Twitter.
I was listening earlier for some of the Twitter handles, and I think I need to refresh my memory on some. I think we may have crossed paths with a couple of people.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if you and Lewis haven't crossed paths, because Lewis, you're These Old Cars, aren't you? Yeah. I'm sure you'll be able to find us on Twitter if you just search our names. But at the start of this, obviously, we do give the handles as well if you want to listen back. But seeing as you're here, before we go on to doing the quick fire red green round and that kind of thing, we're going to do a round of the track day own scrap. So for people who have never done this before, we're going to spin a wheel. It's going to bring up 3 cars. Well, it's going to bring up 1 car at a time. So 3 times we'll spin it. And then you've got to choose one to take on a track day, one that you're going to own, and one that you're going to have to throw in the bin. So I'm just going to get this up now. So give me just a few moments while I do a screen share, which I'm getting slower at, which is quite strange. And we'll start off with Craig Musker, if that's okay, Craig.
Sure.
Okay. Let me know when you guys can actually see a spinny wheel coming up.
It's coming.
Have you got it there now?
Yeah.
Got it.
Excellent. Okay, so there's a bit of a delay on this, so it's probably my internet more than anything. So Craig, we'll do 3 spins. The first one we'll do for you now. These pictures will pop up bigger when they settle down. Okay, so your first car, Craig, is an aerial Nomad. It's a bold start there. So that's your first one. Next one. I'm going to jot these down because I always forget. Second one is a Toyota Celica GT4.
Okay.
Okay, and your third one to either track day, own, or scrap.
Nice.
Okay, it's either a Celine or Saline, depends on how you want to pronounce it, but Celine S7. So track day 1, own 1, and chuck 1 in the bin.
Okay, so I would probably well, 2 weeks ago I went on a convoy drive with a few aerial atoms, and those things are just bonkers. I would track the Nomad, I think.
The Nomad. Yep.
Yeah. I would probably scrap the Sleeker. The 90s Japanese isn't really me. That would leave the Saline to vote.
There you go. So
practical to cart a 10-year-old around with you.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, yeah. I think in that lineup, the Sleeker was really going to struggle. Now it has been surprising in the past what people have decided to keep, but yeah, I think that's kind of a nice one. Thanks for that, Craig. Near, do you fancy a go?
I do. I only came on this at all to have an opportunity to save that GTO that was thrown away a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, it will have appeared back in here again. So if this comes up, then it's going to look like a right fix, but we'll see what happens. So Near, your first car. There you go. You have the old Shelby Mustang. Most people would call it Eleanor.
Really do it for me, but let's see what else comes up.
Yeah, that might still be the pick of the bunch. You never know. Number 2.
Can we put your dad's Mini in here, Damon?
yeah. This one's probably to be as likely to get bent up after an hour's use. So this is the Volvo BTCC car.
In mind.
Yeah. So Ford Mustang so far, Volvo BTCC, and a Porsche 911 of some sort. I think that's a GT2, but there's people probably here that would know that better than I would.
Yeah, this is pretty easy for me, actually, I think. Generally, American cars don't really do it for me, and I know that you're supposed to be all turned on by Shelby's and stuff like that, but it just doesn't do it for me. Obviously, you have to track the BTCC car, the Volvo. And I'm not sure what better keeper you could have than a Porsche that you can use every day. So this is fairly easy for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's what worked out quite well for you there. Definitely. Lovely stuff. So I'll remove that. Tom, do you fancy a go?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get this first spin. So we'll do these separately. So Rachel, you can have a go after Tom. We won't do it as a collective thing. We'll do Tom first.
We probably won't agree.
No, it's often the way. So Tom, your first one's the Jaguar. I think it's a C-type. That is a C-type. Okay, so your next car.
Fingers crossed for that Celica again.
I've removed that, I'm afraid. So you've got a similar sort of car. You've got a 288 GTO. So far, you've got a Jaguar C-Type and a 288 GTO. You get some rather expensive cars here.
I keep them all. Can I sell instead of scrap?
There you go. You've got a V6 Clio, Renault Clio V6.
So I'm going to say, just purely taking price out of the equation, it's going to upset. But I wouldn't keep the Jaguar. They don't really do it for me, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the Ferrari and the Clio, I say taking money out of the equation, because what I said would be just bonkers. I think the Clio and the Ferrari, really.
So you get rid of the Jaguar then, and which one of the Clio and the Ferrari would you track day, and which one would you keep?
I'd be that guy to daily the Ferrari, and I'd probably spin off in the Clio on the track. So
excellent! What a fantastic choice. So we'll remove that. And Rachel, you're up next. So your first car. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see that. It's the SLS, the Gull Wing Mercedes, the SLS is your first one.
I think that was actually a poster that was on my bedroom wall as a teenager. So
was it really?
Yeah.
Well, this one probably wasn't on your bedroom wall because I get to see what.
That was on my wall.
It might have been on mine.
Yeah. So, as well as the Mercedes, you've currently got a Ford Transit Supervan. So this isn't just any old Transit, it's a nippy one. And your third vehicle, I won't say car.
Is that one with the XJ220 running gear in it? Or was that something else?
No, I think that's F1 in there.
Ah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, F1. And talking of fast Fords, your next one is a Cozzy, a Ford Escort.
Feel like this could be a deal breaker right here.
Pretend he's not there, Rachel.
I mean, I'm going to get rid of the Transit. What the hell is that?
Oh, okay, it's gone in the bin.
And probably I would track day the Cosy, because that would be good fun. And like a daily and SLS. Literally, how great would your life be if that was your daily?
I know, it's kind of worked out all right for you there, isn't it? You haven't had to deal with an old Celica GT4 or anything like that.
We are doing a lot of stuff around the house. We could do with a van, honestly.
If you're going to get a van, get that one.
Not that kind of a van.
Brilliant. I'm going to stop that now. Do you guys remember the Renault Espace F1 version? Prost hammering that around. That must have been absolutely scary, because he's so used to driving cars with that power, but with all the grip and downforce of a Grand Prix car, now he's got he's sitting on top of something, basically. And
I only found out recently that was only 2/3 size. It wasn't a full Espace size.
No, that's
yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Espace is a lot smaller than you think it is.
I kind of found the car that I think I wanted to include, but I don't know what type it is. So maybe someone can help me out.
Oh, you might need to just chat someone who knows a lot about cars. There might be someone here. So is this for your design element of a NAF car? Is that what you're thinking about? Sorry. Yeah. Just pop it in the chat, some description of it. We'll see if we can figure it out. But
I found a picture.
You found a picture.
It is a Jeep. And it's American, but I just don't know.
That's minging.
Exactly. It's supposed to be a NAF car. That's what I picked.
Look at the front of it.
What do you like about it, LA?
Well, I've driven a heck of a lot of hire cars in my time, because I've done a heck of a lot of road trips. And this particular car seemed to be like Moses parting the Red Sea. I don't know if there's something about the colour of it or the front of it being so blockish, but on the highways in America, and I think I did about 19 states on that particular trip, and about 3,000 miles, and everybody was just moving out of my way. Now, I mean, it wasn't the way I was driving, because I do normally drive like a lunatic, so there was no difference there. But I think it was just the actual overall look and design of it. The presence was literally making people just shift completely out of my way on the highways. And it was a fantastic drive. I really had to press my brakes, and I could just plow through everybody. It was brilliant. And a lot of times on the American highways, if you're used to driving on them, it's very hard to get off them, because nobody makes room, everybody's tailgating, and you've got to plan your exit, about 10 miles back, just so you can get off the highway. But I was just drifting across, and everyone's just like, oh, all right, coming through, So I really liked it, because I think that you need a car like that in the States to plow around everybody.
So it's a NAF car, but what you liked most about it, the design element, I guess, that you liked most about it, was that it just scared people. It was kind of
it did. Well, I'm going to contradict myself now, actually, because there was a bad thing about it as well. It's the fact that you won't be able to see it, but it had a California plate.
Right. Okay.
I think I can't remember where I hired it, in Colorado, and I was there by myself with my nice Vivienne Westwood sunglasses on, and my blonde hair, and I got myself stuck in this estate. Am I saying the right thing? Like a really bad hood, like a really bad, where there were houses burnt down, and the once upon a time lovely white picket fences, and I was literally stuck in this neighborhood that was just stop sign, stop sign, stop sign. It was like a small gridded thing. And these guys on this stoop, they were clearly in a bit of a gang, and they just noticed me. They noticed the car, they noticed the plate, and then they saw me behind the wheel, and they leapt off their balconies to their cars. And I thought, this is not going to end well, is it? This is going really bad. And I absolutely just floored the accelerator. I didn't stop at any stop sign whatsoever. I just literally floored it through this estate, thinking if I hit something, at least I'm in a big enough car, to sort of take a bit of an impact. So So I guess the design of it did sort of help in a way as well. I didn't hit anything and I got away from them.
Are you sure? Would you have known?
Well, you know, if anything, I'd have turned around and just like ploughed into the front of a guy. But then, you know, I was all right. I got away. It was fine. But yeah,
you've had some fun in cars, haven't you? Yeah. Okay, so back to Tom and Rachel. That's all right. That's all right. What you know? Obviously, OCD about cars. You're clearly a big car fan. I know Rachel's a motorsport fan, at least, because that's kind of how we probably bumped into each other on Twitter in the first place. So what do you have as an everyday car at the moment, you guys?
Well, very briefly, I'll go back just the design feature. I've always loved the A-pillar on the old Audi convertibles from 80 to A4. And the fact that they're just flat as well when the roof's down, just a slight aside. I've always liked those. Never had one. No, so I have a Lexus IS 250. Just because it's Japanese, has all the toys. And I just think it's a lot of car for the money, really. And I have an R33 GTST in pieces at the moment, which is well, yeah, it's on the road for about a week or so, and then I've been doing some ball joints and bushes on it, and I got sent the wrong bits, so it's up on stands for a bit longer than planned. So, yeah, I trimmed down. I had a bit of I wouldn't say an issue. I had a couple of cars for a while, and a
problem.
I wouldn't say problem, but it's just you end up not having enough time to focus on anything enough. So yeah, I'm now sensible. I just have an old Japanese thing in the garage and a nice sensible Japanese thing for every day, which I'm looking to get rid of because it's too boring. But you know.
This is the problem when you have a lust for cars, that everything just ends up being a bit ordinary. My car's in bits on the driveway at the moment as well, so I feel you, but at least my wife's got a car we can use. So Rachel, have you got a car as well?
Yeah, so I've got a Mercedes C250D at the moment, which was a long old journey to convince me that a diesel was the thing, but I managed to find one that was quick enough to keep me entertained. My car buyer, you know, it's got to be quick, and it's, well,
it was the Venn diagram is very hard. Just about fit.
It's yeah, I think it's got to be quick. It's got to have all the toys because I love having my Bluetooth in the car so I can listen to whatever I want to. It's got to have heated seats because I get bloody freezing in the winter. A recent addition to the Venn diagram was I decided it was probably time for an auto because my commute used to be on the motorway, but it's now over the back roads. And I realised trying to drive down country lanes whilst trying to drink my coffee out my travel mug in the morning is quite difficult in a manual. So yeah, decided it was finally time for a diesel auto. But it's a diesel auto that makes me giggle, so it's brilliant. I love it.
Good. I'm glad that you like it. I know you love your cars, and correct me if I'm wrong. Going back a few years again here, but didn't you design wing mirrors for a Range Rover at one point? Have I made that up, or was that a real thing?
No, you've got a very good memory. Yeah, so that's where Tom and I met. We both worked for a company that did wing mirrors for Land Rovers, Jaguars, Volvos, Nissans, and everything in between.
Lamborghinis was one of them.
Lamborghinis, yeah. I never got to work on them. I don't know if I wasn't good enough, but.
So was it exclusively the wing mirrors that you do? Would you do? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I think it makes sense because let's be honest, a wing mirror is a wing mirror is a wing mirror. So if you know how to do a wing mirror, you just do a slightly different shape, different manufacturers, all the same shape, you know.
Yeah.
And hopefully make a tiny bit of money at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. When the Evoque came out and James May reviewed it, and one of the only negative things he said was the wing mirrors were too big. That caused a stir in the office the next day.
The one bad thing.
Off the back of that, they redesigned.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they did a facelift to the wing mirrors
because of James May.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a while since I saw it, but I'm sure one of the he weirdly made all the things to pick up on. He made a comment about how big they were and how sort of disproportionate they were. And yeah, that did not go down very well.
No, okay, I can imagine. Yeah. Oh wow, that's really interesting to know that he's got that kind of power. But yeah, maybe it's something that was niggling them all along, and this is like the straw that broke the camel's back or something like that. But yeah, really, really interesting. So you both worked at the same company then, and that's where you met and everything like that. So like I say, I knew Rachel before that, but Tom, were you into Formula One and that kind of thing as well, or?
I was it sounds odd. I was never really into F1. I could kind of, it's like, I don't know, it's like being a kid and watching sports or being outside playing. I kind of, I appreciate it, but I just rather be fiddling with things and, you know, taking things apart and that kind of thing. I can watch, you know, highlights and best bit, but I don't know why. You know, rally, again, I wouldn't say I'm a huge rally fan, but I can kind of appreciate it more because I feel like I can imagine how crazy it is for driving an F1 car, which I have no idea about. I can kind of look at a rally driver or a touring car driver and think there's a small part of me that can understand how quick they are.
Yeah, it's a bit abstract when you see a Grand Prix car on track, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, well, especially when you got the long camera angles and you know they're just coming towards you and they don't look that quick. But when you're there and they're flying past you, then it becomes clear. But so talking about that kind of thing, it sort of leads me to the quizzes that we've had recently from who was a 9-year-old, a little lad called Ray, but we haven't got 9-year-old Ray anymore, have we, Neil? No, what's happened to him? He's getting big, isn't he?
He's aged. He's
aged.
Yes, he's become 10. And
what?
I know.
He's so old.
He's so old. Are we going to see a big difference in the quiz this week then? Because he's old and mature now. Is it going to have Pythagoras and stuff in it?
No. I mean, it could do because he's into that kind of thing as well, to be honest. But no. The only thing you might notice is that in the first question, it sounds like he's a bit depressed, but actually just doing a Nigel Mansell impersonation.
Oh, he's doing okay. We'll bear that in mind. He's doing that. So, if anyone around you has got a pen and paper handy, don't worry too much if you haven't. As long as you kind of keep a record in your own head of what ones you're getting right, which ones you're getting wrong. Typically, these are 5 questions about cars. I'm not sure whether this is going to be a motorsport you one, Neil, or
no, it's half and half. Can you turn on screen sharing and I'll?
That would help, wouldn't it? Hang on, advanced sharing options. All participants. There we go.
Excuse this moment of admin.
You think we'd learn by now, wouldn't you? So if you've got a pen and paper handy.
Now, hopefully you're all seeing that.
And
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the absolutely humongous, enormous, and very, 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 quite small, big motoring quiz. Question 1. How old was Nigel Mansell when he won the Formula One World Championship? The answer? 39.
Wow.
Question 2. How many Grand Prix did Johnny Herbert win? The answer? 3. Uno, dos, tres.
Out by a factor of about 20.
Question 3. Which German coupe car is turning 50 this year? The answer, the Opel Manta. Question 4. Guess this car from these 5 very small pictures. The answer. The Camaro ZL1 1LE.
Do we have to get the whole thing?
Yes.
Question 5. In what year was the company Renault founded? The answer? 1898.
Yes.
thanks everyone for playing, or everyone who did play. And we'll see you next week. I hope you got some right. And thank you.
And there we go.
Wow. Well, thank you again, Ray. But that for me, that was the hardest one yet. I'm not sure how well everyone did, but did
This
everyone
kid is
find
pure
it?
evil.
That's tricky.
I can assure you he's not. He's just really sharp and doesn't take full pleasure.
Well, if anyone managed to get most of those right, you've done well. Did anyone get 5 out of 5?
No.
No.
So expecting Craig to say yeah, but he's got to have got 4, surely.
No.
I am expecting Lewis to have gotten the Camaro question entirely right.
That's the only question I got.
Did anyone get 4 out of 5?
Oh.
No 4s. Did anyone get 3?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well
nice
done, Craig.
one.
That's a good result there.
Well done, Craig.
Top of the class again. Anyone get 2? A couple of 2s, Craig and LA. Well done, guys. Well, it depends. I kind of got 2 if you allow Camaro without all the gumph after it, but
No.
okay.
No.
No. All right.
LT1.
Did you? Yeah, that's kind of gets half a point, right? Tom, I think you get half a
1
point.
and a
for Kristen.
half.
That face says no, it's not.
Oh, okay. And then who got 1?
Or maybe half. Just
Oh,
go.
but
Oh, okay.
Camaro, but yeah.
I got the Johnny Herbert one, and that was it. And then Camaro. Wow. Well, feedback to Ray that we're all just crying, if you could. Fantastic. Thanks ever so much. Now, talking of quizzes, we'll do something a bit different now. For those of you who've done this before, you'll know the score. For those who haven't, hopefully you've got something red like Lewis is showing us now, and something green like Lewis is showing us now to hand, and we can do a quick fire round of red-green questions if I can find them in my book. So, as you'd expect, if you agree with the statement or you want to say yes, you hold up the green. If you disagree or you want to say no, then you hold up the red. Couldn't be simpler. We may allow yellow or blue if you're really undecided, but that is kind of cheating. So red or green. Go with first.
I think the blue shouldn't be undecided. I think the blue should be if you haven't got a clue about the answer.
Okay, so you're going to hold up the blue then, LA, are you?
Yeah, because that's for most of it.
Right, okay, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, we'll start with, I'm happy to pay more for fuel if it's from a more reputable company. For example, choosing an actual fuel station over a supermarket. Okay. So it's reds and greens, but mainly green. What was that, Neil? Sorry?
That's particularly a Northern Irish thing, though. You've got to be careful buying where you buy your fuel.
Oh, okay. So if someone comes to your door, knocking on the door, saying, "Do you want some fuel?" You say that.
No, because I think it's based on the car, and
Okay.
I've had a better performance out of my Volvo with Morrison's fuel. Sorry, am I allowed to advertise? I didn't finish it. With a supermarket fuel.
I wonder which one.
But Morrison's. Then I have out of somewhere else. So
So
no,
was that Morrison's kind of super fuel, or was it just their normal fuel?
just regular unleaded, and I
Oh,
get a
okay.
better performance in the Volvo than I have done from anywhere else. So absolutely no.
Brilliant. Did
Doesn't
more
most of
people-
it come from? Sorry, doesn't most of it come from the same refineries anyway?
Probably. Who knows?
I feel this is one where Alan would be jumping in and saying something about crude oil prices and that kind of thing, because I think he knows all about Brent crude. And we'll ask Alan about. Oh, and actually, we won't ask Alan about that because no one's going to care. Okay. Next red green thing. This is another fuel one. I don't know what I must have just needed petrol when I did this. I wait until the fuel light is on before I refill.
Nearly.
Another mix. Okay, nearly the fuel nearly on. You want to try and get it before it comes on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. There should be more speed cameras.
Waste of everyone's time.
LA and Mark agree, but everyone
I have to, yeah.
like, you have to.
No, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
I'll tell
I
you
do.
why. I don't like the low speed limits that we have. So this is not an agreement to low speeds, but it's an agreement to people trying to force you to go faster when they're trying to force you to break the law. And I don't like it. You know, it's still my prerogative to keep within the law. So
So if there were more speed cameras about, you'd feel more comfortable sticking to the speed limit, whereas at the moment,
no, I just feel more comfortable about everybody else sticking to it instead of trying to force me to break the law. And that's a genuine beef. That's not just messing about. So yes, more speed cameras, less pushing around. Thank you very much.
How do you feel about dash cams, LA? Are you a dash cam user, or?
I don't have one, but I think that I it's something that's definitely been in my Amazon basket for a while. So.
Same.
Yeah. Okay, next question. V12s sound better than V8s. And it's another mix. Cool, we're getting some good mixes today. There's nothing you
Nia, what are you talking about?
Is that Lewis? Lewis is neutral.
Lewis doesn't know. No.
Depends on the car in question or the engine in question.
It does, because if you've got the right car that has to have a V8, then it sounds right. But
and you can get a lot of V12s that just sound pretty monotone and subdued and quiet. So swings and roundabouts.
Have you seen that video where someone spent 12 grand on an exhaust for an old Mercedes S-Class? And it's just basically a YouTube video, 12 minutes long, of him just giggling. But
Mark Riccioli, the photographer in the UK, he's got one that's set up in basically the same way these days.
Really, it does sound well. It's V12 revving away, so it sounds quite cool. We've got the right exhaust. Okay, next question. The driving test should include skid plate training and car control about when you're losing grip.
Oh. It needs to be better anyway, doesn't
that's
it?
all of us,
unanimous.
I think.
Yeah. I think a couple of countries out there do train people what to do when it all starts to get a bit sideways. I think, in the Scandinavian countries.
And I think that I don't want to sound sexist for the wrong reasons, but I think that girls struggle with this. I was taught by my dad, and he wouldn't let me take my test before I'd done handbrake turns and all that kind of thing, and skidded in the snow, like literally just lost control in the snow and the ice. So I was really lucky, but I know there's a lot of girls, a lot of females that don't have that influence to sort of have a bit of confidence. So I think that it should be included for sure.
Yeah, I think it surprises a lot of people. I know the insurance industry incredibly well, and a lot of the problems with young drivers is they've never experienced the car on the edge of grip or having lost grip. And it's something I think that maybe it'll be good to kind of just let people know that it's possible to do it, and it happens in inclement weather at a lot lower speed than you might think. And it catches people by surprise because they've never experienced it. When it does happen, but they weren't ready. They didn't think it was going to happen. Anyway, so yeah, I'd be going for. I think everyone went green on that, didn't they? Everyone went green. Okay, cool. Next swing. Nothing to do with cars. Dogs are better than cats.
Oh, 100%.
Oh no, yeah, we got a mix again. Someone who was the 100% mark? Was that you?
Yeah, dedefinitely. Yeah,
you're
cats
a
are
dog
pointless.
Fantastic, thanks guys. Okay, next question. This is more, rather than an agree disagree, this is more of a yes or no. I've written off someone else's car.
I don't think
no.
No, just Neil. Okay, there's a story. Oh, I'm Neil and Neil. Let's have Neil first. What happened?
I've had four press cars be written off in my presence.
Right, okay.
One of which was absolutely my fault. Two of which were absolutely not my fault, and one of which happened while the car was on the driveway at 3 o'clock in the morning and I was upstairs asleep in bed.
All right, okay, it's a good innings that you've had there. And Neil, what happened with you?
Well, last week I mentioned that the first car I drove after I passed my test was a Matro Rancho, and I was stepping up in a Matro Rancho with all my mates in the car. So that was my dad's Rancho. And about 3 months after I passed my test, it was his 50th birthday, and he was having a party, and he threw me the keys to the car to take my sister somewhere. And I had a really, seriously, very slow impact into the back of a Ford Escort. And the Ford Escort had a cracked tail light, and the Rancho folded up to the A-pillar. And to this day, I mean, I still have. I'm sure he's watching now. I feel very guilty about two things. First of all, that I rode up my car on his 50th birthday. Also, more generally, zooming out, that I killed a Matro Rancho.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
You owe
It
the
was a
world.
parking speed impact, honestly. It was.
Was it really? So it wasn't slow in the sense that you were crashing for a while. It was more that it was just a really slow impact. Because I've had them before. Wait, you you're crashing for a good minute, and you know you're crashing. And there's definitely you can do. I was going over a crest once in the ice in an Elise, and it started to spin, and I was going sideways down this slope, going, well, this is me crashing then. And I had a chance to remember whether or not I had protected no claims bonus on my policy. And I was like, okay. And then the car just settled. I thought, right, this is going to be awkward. So it was a really narrow back road. I 25-point turned it round and went off to work. And then I realised that my number plate wasn't on the car anymore. So I rang my dad and just said, oh, if you happen to be passing this road, be careful because it's quite slippery. But if you see my number plate there, can you grab it? And he went, yeah, no worries. And he turned up and just says, yeah, it was just sticking out the ground. So I don't know how the number plate got there, but it was really surreal. I was kind of just going, right, okay. Anyway, so I've gone off on a tangent.
Adding up as you were kidding, adding up the potential bill.
Yeah. I wasn't actually hitting anything. I was just very slowly sliding sideways down this slope. It was my fault. It was at least it had basically track day tires on it, and it was probably mid-January on back roads, but I don't know any better because if I get a car, I just use it for everything. And yeah, anyway, so that was next question. Sitting in the back of a convertible, a four-seat convertible with the roof down is humiliating.
Yeah.
No, and it's also bad for your hair if you've got long hair, because you can't brush it for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So Lewis, you're quite happy to sit in the back of a four-seater convertible, because I feel like I'm pretending to be some sort of dignitary or something like that.
It's just a car and a seat. Let's see what it changes.
Fair enough. Craig, you said no as well. You're quite happy for the...
Yeah, that's pretty much that. But
yeah, lording it up.
Until you've experienced the weirdness of the car is traveling forwards and somehow all of your hair is also it's a mystery. It's a wonder of the laws of physics, but it's a bloody nightmare for actually being able to see anything.
Yeah. I don't have this problem, so maybe that's why I agree with it.
Same, Craig. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Okay, next one. Again, nothing to do with cars. Burgers are better than hot dogs.
Depends on the mood, really, but generally.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Craig.
Okay. This is only because when we used to go to the market, they were always about 20p more for a burger. Okay. So I thought maybe they're 20p better. Okay, next one. Cars from the 1990s are classic cars.
Oh.
Nope.
Oh, some debate here going on. Lewis is not committing just yet.
I'm thinking.
Craig, nice one.
Because there's so few left.
Oh, Lewis is really struggling.
What's the other Craig saying? The new Craig?
Both Craigs agree.
Yeah.
I think we agree.
Okay.
BMW 8 series, so it's a classic.
Okay, so the next question is more for people who voted red, because I kind of get the answer from the green ones. Cars from the 1980s are classic cars.
Nope.
No, Mark's got to go further back than the 1980s.
I mean, technically they might be, but it just doesn't. I can't be that old. It just can't be true.
Cool.
When was that? When was the Escort Mark II out?
70s.
Yeah, mid to late 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that Cortina, was that a Mark II? That was 70s, or was that?
Which one? The Mark III that was on earlier?
Is it two? No, it might have been a Mark II.
Oh, yeah.
It was 60s, Mark III was 70.
Right.
And Mark IV was late 70s.
I think my first car was a 72 Mini that was about 20 years old at the time. And my X19 was about 20 years old when I had it. And I definitely considered both of those to be classics at the time. Despite the fact that you could now buy you could buy a BMW Mini as old as my knackered old Mini was.
Isn't that strange?
And the equivalent to an X19 today would be what a year 2000, a late Fiat Barchetta.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a late Barchetta. Yeah.
They're really old.
Well, then again, how weird that I probably think that my Volvo, which is a 90s, is probably a classic now. I don't
Yeah.
know. Does it depend on the car, maybe? The
I think
make?
that might be a factor as well. If it's one of those cars that was destined to become a classic one day, maybe you can consider it a classic a bit sooner rather than just a banger. Which I guess, sorry, Rachel.
Let's be honest, there's some cars that will never be a classic. Like, I don't know, a Fiat Multipla. That's never going to be.
Oh, maybe.
Oh no!
What have you started? What's happened?
What about the Escort? What about the Escort Mark III? That'll never be a classic. Come on.
I think
everything becomes a classic eventually when there's enough of them left.
Yeah.
When there's not enough of them left.
Exactly, they all just perished and died.
Yeah.
And what about a Sierra? It's like, come on.
Well, they're serious coin now, even for
Before tax is real.
There she is. There's the Chevette.
So what year is that Chevette?
Oh yeah,
1977.
Brilliant.
So that's now proper old. That's 43 years old.
Is that a blinky eye one as well?
No. It's just a blinking pain in the ass.
Has anyone seen that thing online? It's not a meme because it's a live video of someone inside their car starting to flash their lights, and there's someone on the other side of the intersection flashing theirs back like they're winking at each other.
Yeah, aren't they the independent, like left and right would flash differently?
I don't know.
I think it was. Yeah, I think I've seen it. I think it's an MX-5 or whatever Miata.
I think it's in the States. It's cute.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Cool. Final question of the red green. 2021 will be better than 2020.
Hope so.
Please.
Yes.
Lewis, red.
Bloody sorry.
Lewis, that's still going downhill.
That's optimism.
God.
Just been able to go outside.
Lewis, what do you know about 2021?
I'm going to be dead if it's worse than this year.
Cool. Thanks for that, guys. Has anyone else got a red green they'd like to throw up to people before we wrap up for the day? Yes.
All right. Okay. Chocolate eclairs are better than licorice chewy sweets.
The what? Sorry.
Chocolate eclairs are better than the licorice chewy sweets.
Where's my green?
Ooh.
Every day.
No.
One red. One red.
I was in a world of my own there. What's happening?
Because I've got loads to do with cars.
Yeah.
Well, it's road trip sweets, right?
Oh, okay. Okay. Tenuous, but yeah, okay, we'll get there.
I've got one.
Go on in. Yep.
Go on.
Is it a shame that Mitsubishi is now effectively dead in the States? In the UK even? Does anyone care?
Okay. Well, this was sort of announced today, wasn't it? It was kind of like they've just suddenly gone, oh, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to miss
It's a bit sad, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll only miss the L200. So
I think, obviously,
The old stuff.
if they'd have bought things that people wanted to buy, they wouldn't be doing this. So we can only blame ourselves for overlooking them. But then I suppose there wasn't really much choice, and they were never the right choice.
Yeah, it is a shame, but it's just years of mediocrity apart from a few odds and sods. So
yeah.
Did you say this was in the States or in the UK as well?
In the UK, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Bad times.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's a good point now. Yeah, it was.
Cool. Any more red green before we hand over to our resident motorsport expert for a fact of the week? No. Okay, Craig, it's all up to you.
Right, and on that cheery note, let's talk about the 90s. So on this day, 23 years ago, Gerhard Berger secured his final Grand Prix win by winning in Germany. The 1997 German Grand Prix. It was not only his final win, but it was the final win for Benetton, which is a constructor that you probably associate more with Michael Schumacher when he won his 2 titles there, and Johnny Herbert when he won Grand Prix with Benetton. There you go.
Fantastic.
Yep, that's a nice link to.
Yeah, that's the only race they won that year. It was the Lacey and Berger that year, wasn't it? And they still beat, I can recall, they beat McLaren in the championship, even though McLaren won 3 races that year.
Yeah.
So cool.
Something like that.
And that was Berger.
I've got a bit of a fact. When you finish.
Yep, I haven't quite finished yet.
That's all right.
Berger, strangely, also took Benetton's first win back in 1986. So he had two stints with Benetton. He took his first Grand Prix win with the team in Mexico and took his final Grand Prix win with the team in Germany. So, yeah, have a weird sort of link up there. He had a bit of a strange career driving for several teams on more than one occasion.
Ah. He was in it for a while, wasn't he? So I suppose you get that opportunity to do that. Yeah, sorry, Ali, did you have a...
Yeah, well, it's something that I just saw on a bit of a quirky thing a couple of days ago. And we all know, well, those that watch Formula One will know that Lewis is set to potentially match Michael Schumacher's record of 91 wins this season. But I just saw this thing that said on his potential 90th race win, which could be in Monza, it's also where Michael Schumacher won his 90th race win as well.
Oh, I see.
Yep. And the thing is, if Schumacher, if Hamilton does win his 90th win at Monza, and then wins his 91st race the next time out, he will win at what will be Ferrari's special 1000th F1 race. Just to rub it in. Doesn't really get much worse than that for Ferrari this season, I'm afraid. So.
No,
sorry to any Ferrari fans that are watching, but
and can I ask, is everybody that watches Formula One looking forward to the Portimao because of like the hill, the actual circuit itself? It looks quite exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah, I did
anything on a real circuit that we haven't seen Formula One on. With all the new circuits the Formula One's gone to for the last decade have not really been real circuits. It's nice to have them onto an actual real circuit for a change.
Yeah, I did a sim race around there last weekend, I think it was. Let's not talk about how it went, but wonderful circuit to drive. That's the main thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Mugello is a new circuit as well for this season. Which is an absolute cracker. Don't expect.
I think I just really like the idea. Obviously, like we know Spa's quite hilly, but normally when they go down Eau Rouge and up, that's the opposite way. Whereas there seems to be quite a steep hill downhill for the cars. That a lot of the F2 cars were sort of losing it, as they were going down and drifting or sliding. So I thought it'd be really great. The F1 cars are obviously going to be a lot quicker. So yeah. And what about Neil was going to say something, I think.
No, he
was going to say something.
Sorry about that. Only that I've spun a BMW M3 at Portimao, so if anybody's done or terribly wrong, I'll be able to sympathise with them.
You don't sound like you're all very good at all this driving stuff. I'll be honest, Neil.
We had a question once where it's we had red green where it was are you a better driver than your friends? And Neil was like, no.
One of my friends is Shane O'Donoghue, so no.
Cool. Well, thanks ever so much for that, guys. It's been a fantastic one tonight. It's been really, really fun to have you all here. Some new faces, familiar faces. I'd like to thank everyone for coming, taking the time out on a Monday night to do this as well. It seems to still be going really well, and we're getting more and more views. Thanks to everyone who's watching along live or watching back. You can subscribe, of course. There is a button at the bottom there. It really, really helps us if you do subscribe, because it makes sure that as many people as possible get to see us basically having fun on a Monday night. But for this week, I think we're gonna have to say goodbye for now, because it's rapidly approaching 9:20. And until next week, 8 p.m. British Summer Time. We've also got something coming up which hopefully you will enjoy. The long-term Zoomers know about this, but we'll have something a bit different coming up in a couple of weeks' time as well. But thanks everyone for coming along, and for now, goodbye.
Take care all.
See you later, guys.